Hey, welcome to the Tom and Josh Show. I'm Josh, this is Tom. Moving on to some recaps of our previous takes and some start-sit calls. So Tom, why don't you lead us off? You mentioned you teased us earlier with some Bears players. Who do you got?
Yeah. So it's a guy that I talked about a couple weeks ago, and there was another guy I was going to talk about quickly, Miles Sanders, but he got hurt. We don't know the severity, so I kind of left that one alone. But the guy I really wanted to talk about is Allen Robinson. He has only passed 60 yards once this year. He's only has one touchdown. We've talked about in the past how pass catchers with teams with rushing quarterbacks and rookie quarterbacks struggle, and Justin Fields is both of those, and Robinson is struggling. It's not good, and especially this week against Tampa, who's been a fairly friendly team to pass catchers. I think they're in the bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed. So my kind of take on him is I think I'm going to drop him. Not only sit him, I don't even know if he's worth having him on, especially if you're in an 8 or a 10 team league. What do you think? Like, am I crazy? Is he too talented for that? Or
the production's not there, right? In an eight team league, like, there should be no question. He is at the bottom of your bench or cut, right? What a fall from grace, right? One of these guys that has been talked about consistently as, most people are taking this guy historically third round. He's kind of coming up, especially in redraft leagues and whatever. But man, that's what can you say? That offense has been really bad, and I don't want this show to just be us Packers fans dumping on the Bears, right? But if you don't mind, I'm going to segue to a sit that I have, and so you take Robinson and. You're saying you're calling for him to be dropped, and so I'm going to take the guy who's been siphoning away some of that production in Darnell Mooney. And, he's been good recently, but after watching what just happened against Tampa Bay, and you've got this kind of bottom-tier pass defense now, you actually watch the game, Fields had no time to throw it. He was under duress the whole time. This whole team got squashed. And I just think that's an issue, right, for production of a guy like Darnell Mooney, where I think you definitely have better options, right? I've got him sitting on my bench in a couple of 12-man leagues, right? So it's not like he's way up there. It's one of those guys that you look at and you say, I'm not going to start him this week. And this week is no different for me. I'm keeping him on my bench. You're torching Allen Robinson, you're booting him from your teams. So it's don't even get me started on Cole Kmet, right? This guy. So all these players, and Khalil Herbert, you take him and drop everybody else. I think is our takeaway from this show on Bears offensive players.
Right.
Okay.
And it's different if you're in like a dynasty league,
sure,
right? Like with Robinson, Mooney, you're not going to drop them. But in a standard redraft league, they're holding you back, and if you've played them, you've suffered.
Yeah.
So
I just again, I mentioned the Uzama thing, right? How I swapped that out last second. I also, in the same league, I subbed in Mooney over Michael Carter, and I'm going to segue to Michael Carter here in a second, right? Swapped him out for Michael Carter literally at 11:58. and again, so either one of these changes would have won me. I lost by 2 points. Either one of these would have saved my week. So I'm going to touch on Michael Carter briefly, right? The Jets are...
Yeah, let's talk about Michael Carter.
The Jets are a dumpster fire, right? So their second overall pick and Zach Wilson goes down with an MCL sprain. Who knows how long that keeps him out? That timetable's not set yet, but they picked up Flacco, or they traded for,
Just acquired Joe
Flacco. Not that that's much of a consolation for anything, but my mindset going into this game against New England was he's not going to get too much volume. And then all of a sudden, if you're in a PPR league, he's got something like 9 targets, 8-9 targets. So this guy is a legitimate consideration, right, for a start in a flex spot in PPR leagues, especially. That standard leagues, stay away, right, because there's not going to be enough volume. He might find the end zone once, but the yardage isn't going to be there. What do you think?
Yeah, Michael Carter's a guy I've kind of liked all year. Whether the data has so much backed that up or not has been spotty. But
it has.
But I like Michael Carter. I think it's a depending on your situation and bye weeks, like a worthy guy to start. I assume they're going to be starting Flacco, right? Like in the Zach Wilson, right? Like so, yeah. So
yeah, they have to, right?
So we haven't seen him in a while.
Well,
but anytime it's a new QB, I feel like those pass catching running backs can be a safety blanket for them. You're right, in PPR leagues, decent play.
Yeah, and whether or not they start Flacco, I don't know, right? But even if they stick with the other guy, was it
Michael White? I think.
Yes,
is that his name?
Mike White. I was thinking, I kept thinking Mike Davis. I'm like, that's somebody else. But Michael White, right? Like, that's going to be either way, right? He's going to be heavily involved in that passing game for those short dump offs. So, a guy that I'm looking to start. Another guy that I am going to double down on. So I posted a video on Zach Ertz.
Did you mean Zack Moss?
No.
Zach Ertz.
I'll get to Zack Moss. I'm all about the Zacks today. I'm bouncing back. All Zacks today. I am all on the Zack train. Zach Ertz, right? I posted a video, the trade to Arizona. I said, I think it's going to revitalize his career. Now, that's a bold statement. Okay. Trading him to a team that's not really targeting tight ends. All this guy did was come in. He played less than 50% of snaps, got 5 targets.
Yeah.
3 of those he caught, one of them for a touchdown. Right now, the touchdown was some wide open, longest play of his career that you can't really bank on year in and year out. But again, he remains at the number 12 tight end in PPR leagues on the season. So it's one of those that, right, this is a better option than O.J. Howard or any of these guys, right, that that you're seeing pop up in all of these waiver wires. And so definitely a guy that you should be excited about. The Arizona offense is really good. Anybody that is catching balls from Kyler Murray right now is looking phenomenal. So I think you have some comments on a pass catcher from Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I do. And real quick, just on Ertz, I wonder if this is going to be. I feel like you see this more in basketball, but like a guy gets traded out of a situation that he clearly does not care about, and then he's like kind of revitalized and like seems to care again. And so I'm as an owner of Ertz in some of my leagues, I'm hoping that this isn't just a fluke, and that some of these targets are here to stay. And you're right. So it's kind of segueing a guy who I have in some leagues that has surprised me when I looked at the stats today is Christian Kirk. So he's getting over 5 targets a game. And outside of like a really dud game against the Rams in week 4, he's been great this year and much better than I thought. He's ranked number 22 amongst receivers, ahead of guys like Diggs and Keenan Allen. And is this pace sustainable? Like to this degree, I don't think I'd pick him above those 2 guys, but he's hot, and so I'm starting him, and I'm gonna kind of ride this wave until it falters, and hopefully Ertz doesn't start to siphon off some of those targets, but the dude's been really good.
Yeah, he's super exciting. I drafted him a year too early. I had him last year, and this year he wasn't awful last year. There was times, but No, Kirk is definitely somebody who has been ready to pop, I think, for a couple years. And, like you said, hopefully Ertz doesn't take some of that shorter work that I think he tends to get. You've got kind of Hopkins and Green on the outside, right? So I agree, right? I would totally, if I owned him, and I regret that I don't, I would start him up. And I think you definitely hit it on the head with that one.
Yeah, and I think as the season goes on, maybe Rondale Moore starts to eat away at some of those carries and that snap count. But for now, Christian Kirk's been hard to ignore.
Yeah, so. Yeah, for sure, definitely. So you may have seen in one of our thumbnails, okay, a couple weeks ago, I put a bit of a teaser in there. Geno Smith greater than Justin Herbert? ? Right.
Gotta get those clicks.
Gotta rack up those clicks, right? And it wasn't supposed to be. There was some legitimate, hey, maybe, because Geno Smith came in and he showed out when he subbed in for Russ Wilson that game where, Russ goes down, Geno comes in, almost brings him back from the brink. The interception that Geno throws is, not his fault. And then Geno starts games and he's getting 10, 11 points a game. And meanwhile, Justin Herbert has had a 40-point game and a bye, right? So,
yeah.
Okay, right. That take may have been a little exaggerated. Okay, I think Geno Smith is safely left on the waiver wire. I don't know if you have much else to say, but we could probably move right along from Geno Smith.
Yeah, it's a good transition into the pass catchers for the Seahawks. Right. Tyler Lockett feels kind of unplayable if Russell Wilson's not there, and DK Metcalf had his day was salvaged by that huge touchdown.
Also sunk me in the same game that I effed up all the other start sets. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look up the targets throughout that game, but I as I was watching it, I think he hadn't gotten targeted again after that long touchdown until like it was a whole quarter gone by before they even
late in the second half that he finally picked it up and then beat me. Yeah.
Right. So it's I've got Tyler Lockett in at least one league, and I think you just got to avoid him until Russell Wilson comes back. It's been bad. Yeah,
and it's tough to say about a guy like Tyler Lockett, right, where he's been kind of the epitome of a boom-bust guy, right, the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And this, I haven't owned him because I'm not a huge fan of the boom-bust guys, but, if you might be able to speak more to this, but it's totally not – there's no boom upside, right, with Geno at quarterback.
Right, not anymore.
Right? He's a guy that was always a threat to go off for multiple touchdowns or, he'd have a big 50, 60, 70-yard play, and it's just not happening right now.
Yeah, he had a great week 1 and great week 2, and since then it's been very forgettable.
Okay.
So he's someone that I'll be sitting for the time being.
Well, somebody that I'll be starting – Zack Moss. All right. So a couple weeks ago, I said I had Jalen Waddle and Zack Moss as my starts. Jalen Waddle had 2 touchdowns. Nailed it. Huge win. That was awesome. Zack Moss did nothing. And I think he had, I think he finished with 6 or 7 points or something like that. I think this is the week he gets back. I think they're going against Miami again, right? Buffalo versus Miami. Earlier in the season, he scored. So he is, again, somebody that I'm looking forward to starting. And I'm going to bank on that touchdown again this week. And I think that some of that increased usage that we started to see before all of a sudden, I said start him and then, that's how the universe works. I think that's going to revert itself a little bit this week. So, I'm looking for him to get back in there, get some more action. Singletary, I think, was really he had a really good game. I want to walk that one back a little bit, right? It wasn't fantasy-wise the most spectacular game, but if you're watching that Bills game where, I had said start Zack Moss, and then all of a sudden he did nothing. Singletary was for sure the better of the two backs. This week, I think that flips itself around.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, it's coming off a bye against a bad Miami team. This feels like a get right game.
Sure.
For Zack Moss.
Sure.